No one remembered exactly who said it first, only that the words cut through the dry evening air like a whip crack. "Don't look there." The warning came low and sharp, almost panicked, as if speaking louder might invite something terrible into existence. The townsfolk of Red Hollow had gathered near the edge of the cattle fields, their boots sinking into dust, hardened by years of drought and silence. At the far end of the land stood the rancher, Elias Crow, motionless atop his horse, his gaze fixed on something no one else dared acknowledge. He was a man carved from hardship, broad-shouldered, weather-beaten, eyes dark with years of buried restraint. The sheriff stood a few paces behind him, jaw clenched, knuckles white around the butt of his revolver, while whispers rippled through the crowd like nervous insects. Everyone knew what lay beyond the fence line, everyone knew why they shouldn't look. Yet Elias didn't blink. He stared as if the earth itself had betrayed him. That land, charred, uneven, silent, had once belonged to a family driven out under false charges. Charges Elias himself had testified to, a lie spoken years ago to protect powerful men. And now the truth lay exposed in the open, rotting under the sun. A shallow grave unearthed by last night's storm, a child's boot half buried in mud. The crowd shifted uneasily. Women pulled their children closer. Men looked down, pretending fascination with the dust. Someone muttered a prayer. The preacher cleared his throat but said nothing. Red Hollow survived on silence, it always had. Then Elias dismounted. The sound of his boots hitting the ground echoed louder than gunfire. "Elias," the sheriff warned, "don't do this." But Elias took a step forward. Then another. He crossed the invisible line everyone else feared. Murmurs rose, anger, fear, disbelief. This was not how things were done. You didn't dig up the past. You didn't shame the town. You didn't stare at sins everyone agreed to forget. Yet Elias knelt beside the grave. Slowly, deliberately. He reached into the dirt with bare hands. Gasps erupted behind him. "Stop!" someone shouted. But he didn't. He pulled free the object everyone knew was there but refused to name. A rusted locket, the same one he'd seen years ago around the neck of the woman he falsely accused. His breath hitched, the crowd erupted, men shouted, women cried. The sheriff drew his gun, not to shoot, but to stop the moment from spreading. Elias stood, turned, and raised the locket high for all to see. "You told me not to look," he said, voice steady but broken underneath. "You told me to forget. And I did." His eyes burned into the crowd. "But I won't anymore." Rage exploded. Some called him a traitor, others called him a liar. A few screamed for him to be hanged. Red Hollow had rules, and Elias Crow was breaking every one of them. Yet he didn't flinch. He walked straight through the crowd, every step a declaration of war against the town that made him. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, one truth became undeniable: Red Hollow would never be the same again. If you're feeling the tension rising already, this is the moment to hit subscribe, because what comes next changes everything. By dawn, the town had turned on him completely. Elias Crow woke to the sound of stones hitting his ranch house. Curses spat like venom from the shadows. His cattle had been loosed, his well poisoned. A message carved into his barn door read, "Look again and die," yet he saddled his horse anyway. Fear had lived in him long enough. He rode straight to the courthouse, ignoring the men who blocked the road, ignoring the rifles raised not to kill, but to intimidate. Inside, the town council sat pale and furious. The same men who once praised Elias as honest, loyal, dependable, now stared at him like he was a disease. "You've endangered us all," the mayor said. "You've opened wounds better left buried." Elias didn't raise his voice. He placed the locket on the table. Then another item, then another. Proof, names, dates, signatures. The lie he told years ago had been one brick in a wall of corruption, and he had spent the night tearing the rest of it down. Silence fell heavy. The preacher wept. The sheriff looked away. The mayor's hands trembled. "Why now?" someone whispered. Elias finally looked tired. "Because my son asked me why that land was empty," he said, "and I realized I didn't have a lie left in me." Outside, the crowd demanded blood. Inside, the truth demanded daylight. When Elias stepped back into the street, the mob surged forward. Someone struck him. Another spat. He staggered but didn't fall. "Hang him!" a voice cried. But then, unexpectedly, a woman stepped forward. Then another. Families who'd lost land, men whose brothers vanished. People Red Hollow had silenced for generations. The mob fractured. Rage met remorse. Fear met courage. The sheriff finally holstered his gun. "Enough," he said. The town stood at a crossroads, violence or reckoning. Elias didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't beg. He simply stood there, battered but unbroken, having done the one thing everyone feared most, telling the truth out loud. By nightfall, arrests were made. By morning, Red Hollow was a town learning how to look again. Elias rode out alone, not a hero, not a villain, just a man who chose to face what others buried. And as dust swallowed him on the horizon, one lesson burned clear: the most dangerous thing a person can do isn't looking away. It's finally staring straight at the truth. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you uncomfortable, that's exactly why it matters. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that dare to look where others won't.